So today we are speaking with Balbir Dhillon, the head of Audi India, on the back of their newest launch, the RS5 Sportback. Good evening, Balbir. Thank you for speaking with us, taking the time out, and congratulations on the launch.
Thank you so much, Sergius, for having me on your show, and good wishes and good health to you as well as all the viewers.
Same to you, same to you. So, Balbir, congrats on the launch.
Thank you.
Why don't you just start with telling us a little bit about the car itself?
Well, today we launched the RS5 Sportback. We've been having RS5 in our portfolio for many years, but so far we've only sold the coupe version. For the first time, we are introducing, let's say, after 10 years of launching the RS5 coupe, RS5 Sportback. So far, most of our focus has been performance and design. I mean, these are most of the critical elements as far as the RS version goes. So most of the buyers of RS5 their first choice is the performance. And obviously, when you choose the performance, you also look at the design of the car. And we are adding the third vertical to this. We are adding the third personality, which is everyday usability. And this comes with a four-door Sportback. So I think it's a combination of the three factors that we have brought in this car. And we've brought in this car at a very aggressive price point, I would say. And this is an entry point for anybody who wants to own an RS version from our side. And you know very well that it comes from our subsidiary, Audi Sport. And they make the high performance car. And I'm very happy that we have this car for our customers in India.
Right. So actually that, brings me to my second question. In fact, you kind of sort of answered it, but earlier you all had the same car in a two-door. Now it's the four-door. What's the thought behind it? Why move towards the four-door? And in fact, this does line up with all of your other four-door also. I think if you look at your performance cars, they're all four-doors. So what's the rationale behind this, the thought behind it?
So as I mentioned, it's the third dimension that we've added to the car, the performance and the design. Now, this is third dimension is everyday usability. Conventionally, we always believe that the sports cars is additional car for any individual or any family at home. So you drive the sports cars on the weekend and you drive a normal car during the day, weekdays. But this car kind of gives us a choice for our customers who also, let's say, want to own a single vehicle and which they want to use for both the purposes.
Right.
So I think it widens the choice while not compromising anything on the performance, but also gives a better possibility for a wider set of buyers who could now own this car, which very well can be used for your family driving on a day-to-day basis, your personal driving to office.
Right.
But whenever you get time to get a free road and you have speed limits which are allowed on a higher side, you can also enjoy the car. True. So it's a good combination for both. So, with one vehicle, we are trying to serve two purposes.
Okay, yeah. So I get that logic for sure. It's a lot more practical if you're trying to blend maybe two worlds. But I mean, as an enthusiast, also, then I have a question: where does that leave the two-door cars and the coupes? Let's say, sorry, not the coupes, the convertibles. And I think Audi, you have actually had these in your portfolio in the past. So what does that mean for these kind of cars, these body styles?
Well, you have to understand the whole peripheral of where we are operating. I would say anything which is available in our global portfolio, we are always willing to bring those vehicles if they make practical sense, and if we are able to sustainably sell those cars and service those cars for their life cycle. So we have to keep in mind that we definitely want to bring more and more cars, but there has to be certain minimum volume that we can draw from those vehicles. So our options are all open, but let us see how it goes going forward, because you have to also consider that the luxury space still remains to be very limited as compared to overall industry.
Of course.
And luxury space offers many more cars as compared to even volume segment sometimes. So we have to have we have to maintain those volumes, and we have to also take care of these cars. So let's see. I think
it's a balancing. What you're trying to say, you're trying to balance a lot of parameters from what I'm understanding.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, and that's actually quite I would say a reasonable business strategy. Looking at volumes, and you've also got the fact that you've got an extremely wide, I think, portfolio. With all sorts of combinations in between, and it's good, of course, to hear that you've not ruled out, therefore, let's say, the two doors and the convertibles. But what about, the performance business? How has that been doing for you all? I mean, let's look at, let's say, luxury performance. Your competitors, they do have sort of dedicated showrooms for the performance line. Is that something, Audi, you're looking at? Do you want to do something like that with the Audi performance division in India?
So very important point. It is not that we are looking at exclusive showroom or part of the showroom dedicated, but I think what is important to know in luxury supercar segment is a little bit on the personalization side. And that topic is very well taken care by the digitalization part. So you don't need to have an exclusive. Of course, we have exclusive corner within our showroom where we always keep the high-end cars. But we're not keeping two separate showrooms for this. So we will continue with this strategy and offer more and more options digitally, because the engagement when you configure your car is at a different level altogether. You become part of making your own car. Okay. And that is what we want to drive over a period of time, especially at the top end. And as we move on electric journey, you already know that we launched 3 cars. And part of your previous question also gets answered. You will also see in the coming times, we will also take certain steps which takes us closer to even more electric mobility in the country. Right. So we are working on strategies from all the sides, and I am sure you will be happy in the coming months when we will meet again and at the launch of new cars.
So awesome. In fact, Balbir, that's something very interesting, like that you said. You're working on all fronts. How difficult is that for you to balance? Because you've got, obviously, let's say, your I won't call them mass, but the more regular models. You've got your performance, and now you have electric also. So is that a challenge, for you to balance these sort of 3 almost different and divergent sort of areas?
Well, we have been working on a strategy 2025 for last couple of years now, and it is already in place and in action. The very first strongest action that we took was last year, when we decided that we will move, at least short to medium term, from diesel plus petrol strategy to petrol plus electrification strategy. So, immediately once we did that, when we moved from BS4 to BS6, there was no availability for diesel engines for us. So we only worked on petrol. And I'm happy to share that, the response that we have from our customers and dealers is unprecedented. I mean, we've never come across anybody saying that we've lost sale because we didn't have some engine in our portfolio, which is really encouraging. And it is much beyond our expectations. Right. And we have actually, completed our promise by launching 3 cars last month on electric side. So we have e-tron 50, e-tron 55, and e-tron 55 Sportback. Right. So it is important that we, keeping in mind the overall industry in India, to also kind of limit your portfolio, because you have to sustain these cars and you have to serve these cars through their life cycle. And our focus has been 3 prone, as you mentioned. One is, of course, the volume cars, which are made at this point in time in India. On electrified journey, where we've already mentioned that we want to achieve 15% sales of electric cars by the year 2025. Some point in time, if the volumes reach a threshold limit, we will also look at also making these cars in India. Okay. And then, of course, the portfolio on the top end, which is our RS models or S models. So this we are focusing also parallelly. We have a special dedicated team who takes care of these customers, so that we are able to drive exclusivity with these customers and make them buy what they like, or what suits their personality the most. So we are trying to keep it simple, but at the same time trying to cover as much as possible, as much variety as possible.
True. So just to clarify, Balbir, you said 15%. What you mean by that is 15% of your entire portfolio you would come from electric.
Yes. So out of our portfolio, whatever we sell in India, we want to achieve 15% by 2025. This is what we are moving towards.
Okay, and if you do hit that percentage, 15%, is that the point at which, let's say, localizing some of these, or not localizing, but let's say assembling some of these electric cars in India would make sense?
So I would say yes or no, because 15%, if we reach that percentage, it's very encouraging. That shows the path for the future. And no, it all depends whether we are able to achieve that 15% with 3 models or with 10 models. So if it is 10 models per model, the number of
Obviously
will remain low. So it all depends upon these kind of permutation combination. And I think it's too early to make any judgment. We've not even crossed a month after launch of e-tron. And so far, the response has been very, very encouraging, and so happy about it. Let's see. I always maintain it's a marathon, not a sprint. We have to all participate in this journey, and I'm sure we will be successful.
Correct. So yeah, I mean, I get your point. So, I mean, if it's, let's say, for example, 3 electric cars giving you 15%, you could look at that at local assembly. But, on that point, of late, there's been a lot of discussion. I think if you see online with Tesla asking for lower import duties, a few other brands backing them, some saying no. What is Audi's take on this? Will lowering import duties for electric cars by some amount, let's say, some smaller amount, maybe, would that help kickstart the EV revolution in India?
Revolution is a very strong word, because we still represent a very limited
the slow journey
percentage. Yes, but absolutely it will help, because at the end of the day, we are also investing in infrastructure, though it is normally part of let's say the charging companies who would set up the infrastructure, but we are also trying to do our bit. And I mean, at the end of the day, everything boils down to the cost of ownership, cost of car. In case of electric cars, if the duties are lower, we shall be able to bring in more cars, and more customers can use these cars. And I also firmly believe every one car that we sell will give that family a comfort factor, and that comfort factor will multiply. So with every one extra customer that we are able to get, we will multiply in our volume. So from that point of view, though we represent very small volumes in luxury space, but it could bring revolution within our circle. So it definitely helps. And to your larger question of whether the duties should come down, I mean, we have been requesting this for last so many years now. I mean, we have already invested into the country. We've invested keeping in mind that there will be certain threshold volumes that the luxury space will cross, and which has not been the case so far. We are ready with so much of invested already in India. And everything that helps us increase the volumes will definitely be a positive. You see import duties, you also see the GST on luxury cars have been 48 to 50%, which is
true.
And then on top you have registration costs 10 to 20%, and
absolutely.
And to buy everything, you already pay 1/3 of your money as your taxes before you
on taxes.
buy. So there are 4 layers of taxes before you get a car on road.
Correct. Yeah, beyond the metal, there's so much more that you're paying for. I get it. I get it. So yeah, I mean, do you think though that it's let's say fair to have a lower structure on electric versus luxury, or would you like to see an overall reduction for imports?
Honestly, overall, but I would still say that even on electric side, government should give a threshold or a push at least 3 to 5 years. That what we just spoke about, that we want to achieve 15% by 25. If we are able to achieve that earlier, and if you are able to, or we are able to achieve the percentage to be higher, the decision of making the cars locally will be faster. So those kind of things. For ICE engine, we are already invested. Our capacities are available for much more than what we sell. But to bring electric manufacturing into the country, of course, the early we are able to reach that threshold numbers, the faster we will be able to convince our headquarters to invest once again into the country.
So actually, that's a very good point that you make. I mean, people keep thinking that it's got to be funded for a long time, but I gather from what you're saying, all it probably needs is 2 to 3 years of backing from the government.
3 to 5 years, I would say.
Okay, 3 to 5 years to reach that point where it can then sort of smoothly roll, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So So that brings me to then your other models. In fact, a lot of the Audi fans, and they keep asking us. In fact, a lot of the comments that we get also is, what about all the regular cars, like the Q3 and the Q5, and I think there's even the A3 sedan, for example. What's the plan for those?
So I can only say that since you have waited for some time, wait a little more longer. Very soon we are going to come out with more news. Not at this point in time I'm able to share with you. Let's focus on RS5 that we've launched, Sportback that we launched today. But very shortly or very soon you will also hear about the other SUVs which we believe are missing from the portfolio, and our customers will be able to enjoy those cars in a short span of time from now.
True. No, absolutely great. So we'll stay tuned, for that. But on the RS, getting back to, let's say, the RS, the lineup is something I wanted to ask you about. How has that been doing in India? Because you have introduced it on an SUV also. We have that the RS Q8. So what's the response been to that, to the the focused sport models?
So you're right. This focus has been there from our side for last about 1.5 to 2 years, apart from what we had also in the past. I'm only talking about the latest generation of cars that we've launched. The enthusiast whose primary focus is performance.
Right.
So that has been the key. And so far, the enthusiasm or the response that we have had is really good on RS7 and RS-Q8. Of course, for the first time, we also enter in an SUV with an RS, and that response is even better because this is something which is growing trend in India where SUVs are being preferred.
Correct.
But at the same time, the cars RS7 and RS-Q8 are over almost, let's say, 2 crore price category.
Right.
So the buyer segment is limited. So that's the reason why we've launched this car just over 1 crore, and it is a very good price point. And somebody to experience our sports cars, this is a very good entry point, and we believe that this will also give us a sales which could be much more than what we anticipate at this point in time.
True.
So far, the response from the morning, from the time we've launched till now, has been really very positive. We've got very positive comments about the good starting point. And I can also tell you very briefly that this car that we've launched today, we are offering to our customers a 5 years warranty on this car, apart from 5 years of roadside assistance. So we also want our customers to be owning these cars without any trouble, or without or with a much more confidence, I would say. So some initiatives that we're taking with each model that we're launching to be a bit unique and to be customer centric.
Yeah, in fact, on the price, Balbir, if I remember right, I think it's a few lakh lower than the earlier car, the RS5 Sportback today. So I think 2 years, henceforth, I think it's a good price to launch at, given that things have only been going up.
Well, we have had a little tough negotiation with our headquarters, and we wanted more enthusiastic buyers to come to Audi's portfolio, and to have a top-down strategy to be successful. You need to make some sacrifices some point in time. So we are trying to do that. And for this year, we know this is an introductory price, and we have limited units to sell, I would say, at this price. So let's see who we can bring on the table with this price point.
Right, and I know, Balbir, you don't normally discuss volumes in terms of sales numbers, but I have to ask you, at least in, let's say, percentage terms, if you were to look at say the RS model in the Q8, the RS Q8 versus the regular, what does that work out to? Just to get an idea of how big is.
I mean, it's still difficult to give any percentage in terms of numbers. These are that's why these cars are called exclusive cars. They're not calculated in percentages. They have to be taken care on one-on-one basis. So, this is for enthusiasts. Even if one car is sold, we are happy to make that customer happy. If we sell 100 cars, we are much more. It's much more happy. But let's not look at this kind of percentages. They don't tell you the real story. The real story is a happy, enthusiastic customer at the end of the day.
Right. Okay, great. I thought I'd get some idea at least out from you, but
So numbers is something which we share only once in a year in
right,
totality.
I know.
They're not broken up
Correct.
into model by model.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but basically, what you're saying is the RS cars are doing well for you in India.
Absolutely.
Okay.
A very different segment of customers who are whose desire is not a routine desire of owning a luxury car, but to own something which is for performance oriented and design language, as well as once a while also utility.
True. Great. Fantastic. So I think I've been getting messages saying we're running near the end of our time. And perhaps I have one last question for you. In terms of just going back a bit, when we spoke of network expansion, you said you were not looking at maybe, let's say, dedicated performance showrooms. But would you expand the overall Audi network? And are you seeing business from the smaller cities and also for sports cars like the RS Sportback?
So I can tell you the response from segment A, segment B, segment C, all the towns has been almost equally spread through the country. And what we intend to do is through part of our strategy 2025, we have been working on workshop first approach. So have more workshops than showrooms in terms of further expansion.
Right.
So that we have done quite a bit. And this year's focus has been Audi Approved Plus. So we are intending to double our showrooms as far as Audi Approved Plus goes, from 7 to 14 by end of this year. So that's been the focus this year, because we also want to bring in two things. One, an ease of selling your existing Audi.
Right.
At the same time, also try to bring first-time luxury buyers into Audi's fold. And once they are inside our fold, then we try to keep them happy so that they remain with us loyal for the rest of their life. And the next car they buy is an Audi, a new one. So that's the focus at this point in time.
Right. Great. So thanks, Balbir. We will look forward to more showrooms, I guess, and also more performance cars. Right. And wish you and the RS5 a fantastic journey now in India.
Thank you so much, Sergius.
Thanks, Balbir. Thank you for talking to us.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye-bye.